Hey, this is BA. I'm going to do what I call inside squares. It always helps at different points of your learning to go back in and review some of Gann's work, make a thorough review. And we're going to do that spot on here. I'll get you started. And then from that point, you go on and you look at more of his work in this manner. May soybeans. This is a plastic overlay that was designed to set over and be able to move through Gann's charts. This was one of my originals, and I sent it off to a guy. It was in 2003, 2004 timeframe. And at the time, the scanners back then were very high resolution for that time. This was a $100,000 scanner that he used back then to make these copies. Well, as time went on, it's 20 years later. As time went on, now of course high resolution is completely different. But anyway, I still use these. When I go back and I reference, different points I want to make or whatever. We were the first, my team was the first to put these on the internet, this type of work. No one, without buying, the expensive courses back then, hardly anyone had ever seen the work, But what it merits is a thorough understanding. I'm going to show you how to start doing that. And then you can move on yourself, so to speak. This chart's made from the May soybeans low of 67 cents on July 27, 1939. And the square, because it's 67 cents, time and price are equal, it's a square 67 by 67. This is an old scan of a plastic overlay, as I said before. Gann would move this about as May soybeans chart. It was movable over the top of the charts. Note that of the soybean contracts, the 67-cent low only applies to May beans because that is the contract that it physically occurred on. So while you could use this 67 on anything that had a major low or high at 67, this was specifically made for May soybeans. That means, for Gann to take that much work to put it in a plastic overlay, and for us to have it today, it was extremely important to him. Let's take a closer look at this. Labeled on the bottom, that's the green arrows down there, left is 0 to 67, then 67 to 134, then 134 to 201, etc., which of course are increments of 67. This enabled Gann to quickly measure where he was within the square in regards to time, meaning what square are you in? Well, a price of, say, 200 would be at the end of the third square. So this was a quick and easy visual representation so that he could follow the numbers. But there's more to it than that. The time increments of 67 are continued at the top through 12 iterations. Why 12? Because 12 times 12 is 144. In this usage, he would simply move the square along to, say, the eighth square or so, and he'd know what the halfway point inside that eighth square is. For our purposes, it's 502.5. This would be a very quick calculation in the days before computers. Now there's programs, and especially the private ones, that does all this automatically, but we still, our goal is not to get this as fast as we can. Our goal here in this video is to go back and look at how to analyze this. Again, on the left side, he was using price starting at 0 and heading to 67, completing our square. Note the arrows on the right side, which continues our increments of 67. Note the half column, again on the right-hand side, that is marked here. It appears to be incomplete, but is actually complete. The last number's 436. He stopped there. Why? So when you're analyzing this, you'd want to go, why did he stop at 436? Why isn't this at least numbered up to the top? $432 is 144 times 3. 432 is 144 times 3. Also, long-term high in Gann's day is 405 and 411, which of course are also encompassed by our shortened 7th row. If you take a look at long-term May soybeans, two highs, 405 and 411, are encompassed in that. So this would have covered that entire area. He didn't need that to complete that row. Here, marked off up the top, we have where Gann divided the chart into 8 equal parts. This makes for quick calculation. Let's say something approaching the 1/4 point, you would know that it was approaching 90 degrees as we also divide the circle into 8 increments of 45 each. You could say indicators like a compass. Those markings are important, and the lines from those markings actually extend into the square. So that they would be easily visually recognizable. This is part of the May beans weekly time period chart, different chart than what we were looking at originally. The chart spanned a few decades, leaving off in May 1954, roughly a year before Gann's death. Note the February 15th, 1920 high at 405. This point remained in effect until taken out in January of 1948. He also notes the low of December 28, 1932. He's got that there. And July 27, 1939. Of 67 cents, which is the square that we had just been looking at. What you would want to do is you'd want to go back and see why those 2 points were so important that they had this position in the chart. And why are you running time periods from February 15th, 1920 high of 405? Note Gann's arrows at 13, 36, and 52. We put arrows on them to mark off Gann's arrows. A lot of arrows. These are all divisions of 104. It's this type of analysis that you need to do. Don't rely on me or other people. You need to do it yourself. Different area of the same chart. Marked off in 6 squares of, meaning right there at the arrow, green arrow. Marked off is the 6 squares of 44, meaning 6 squares of December 28, 1932 low. This was at a price level of 264. Note he also adds to the comment putting 5 squares up. The 6 squares is counting from 0, while the 5 squares is counting as the 44 low. Again, it's this type of analysis that's so critical to do by yourself and make notes of it. A very important distinction if you ever work with the 0-degree angles is that 6 squares of 44 price and 5 squares up. Doing this type of initial analysis or redoing this type of analysis after some time, you will eventually start understanding more of what he was doing. And that's it. You got it all right there.